Welcome to Share Talk, the only podcast where investors come first.
Hello and welcome to Share Talk. Today I'm joined by Vladislav Sandler, who is CEO at Hemogenyx. How are you today, Vlad?
I'm good. How are you, Zach?
I'm doing very well. We haven't spoken since the world changed in a rather bad way last year, and maybe we could talk about that, but it's been a long time. And just wondering what's going on at Hemogenyx at the moment. What are the highlights?
Well, we have many different developments. I'm not sure when was the last time we spoke, so I can give you just a high-level view of what we're up to right now. So we basically are going into IND-enabling and studies and clinical trials for two of our major product candidates. One of them is CDX bispecific antibody that we're developing with our partner Globalcom. So in reality, this development is over, and we announced it in the end of December, I think, or beginning of January. And the second product candidate is our CAR-T, so that we're developing together with the University of Pennsylvania, with Penn. So these are our major product candidates. Both of them are designed to attack acute myeloid leukemia, one of the worst leukemias people suffer from. And also, both of them are designed to condition bone marrow transplants. One of them is immune therapy by specific antibody, obviously, it's CDX, and the other one is cell therapy, and that is CAR-T. So these are our major product candidates, and these are the products that are rapidly transitioning from being researched into something that will be tried in people in a short while.
You said that you're partnered with organizations, which sounds good. Is that typical of what happens when you come up with an idea and then you develop it with a third party?
Well, it's difficult to say what is typical because there are all kinds of different scenarios. So we happen to partner with this big biopharmaceutical company almost now 3 years ago because they gave us access to their IP and their capabilities of protein engineering. Without their expertise and these capabilities, it would be very, very difficult for us to engineer this antibody to the level it is right now. With UPenn and CAR-T, we chose them because, again, they have unmatched expertise in developing of CAR-T type products because they were the first who developed a CAR-T that was the first to be approved by the FDA and EMA as a cell therapy of this type for the treatment of leukemias. So that was the first CAR-T ever approved. I think it was in 2015, and they developed it for Novartis. And since then, they run multiple dozens of clinical trials, and they have a number of product candidates that are going through both preclinical, IND-enabling, and clinical trials inside UPenn. So it's very difficult to find a better partner. And I would like to also point out that it wasn't purely commercial arrangement. UPenn basically is bombarded by offers to collaborate simply because of their expertise. But they chose us because they looked at the data that we produced for our CAR-T, and they loved the idea, they loved the data, and they said, well, let's do it. And so we now are halfway through the sponsored research agreement, basically the agreement where they produce, they verify and validate our product candidates and then generate data that is necessary to file an IND. And we are talking right now, and we're going into the manufacturing phase together with them and with some certain external partners.
Is it fair to say this could be a blockbuster in pharma terms? Is that right?
Well, it's hard to say, but I hope it's going to be very successful. And what's also important is that this product candidate, CAR T, our CAR T, Hemo-CAR T, will probably transform our company, and we're well on the way to become a clinical stage biopharmaceutical company. So before this point, we were purely R&D. Now we are going through the transition, and we will become a clinical stage company.
Right. I'm speaking from a journalistic angle and maybe from an investor angle as well. You don't tend to get small clinical pharma companies. They tend to be rather big. That transition from R&D to clinical is the inflection point. That's the time when you get the value, and that's the time when the sparks start flying.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. For us and for most other companies, it's the transitioning into the stage of being a clinical grade company, clinical stage company is an inflection point. But the most important thing will come maybe a little bit later, when we have a clinical proof of concept of our product candidate or our product candidates. That is going to be a true transformational event. That's when typically the valuations, both of the companies and the products they're developing, go sky high. We see it time and again. I'm not gonna name names because of multiple reasons. It takes 5-10 minutes on Google to understand what is happening when a company achieves a clinical proof of concept of one of its or more than one of their product candidates.
It's fair to say there aren't too many £30 million or $50 million clinical pharmaceutical companies around.
No.
Is that the sound bite that you were looking for?
Yes.
So that's good. I think the other thing I wanted to talk about, because I know this is a bit like rocket science for people. So you're firing away on the blood cancer front. Let's say it doesn't really matter what you're firing away on that front. And whenever I see you, I always think of mice. I always think of humanized mice. And I thought that was because that's where I sort of first knew about Hemogenyx, and that's the easy part to understand. How are you doing on that front? Because clearly in the COVID environment, that aspect, we see human clinical trials, or we've seen that. I've interviewed companies who are conducting those. How are the mice doing?
So the mice are doing very well. They sit in their cages and generate data. To be a little bit more serious, we are collaborating with a number of institutions using our mice. So first of all, we are close to completing the collaboration with Johnson & Johnson, and it's a successful collaboration. We'll probably announce it in due time. We are also working with a number of other companies, including Eli Lilly. So they're evaluating our mice and their specific requirements. We announced it some time ago, and it looks good at this point. And most important, our mice give us an opportunity to speed up the development of our own product candidates. So we use these mice in a certain way for validation of our CDX antibodies. We used our mice, the mice that we modified specifically for that purpose, for the validation of CAR T. And also we recently announced that we have a new platform technology that is called CBR. And so we modified our mice, and we're using our mice for the development of this new platform.
So it's your own secret weapon in a way, your testing weapon on your own development. Well, that's already giving you an edge, I suppose, with the collaborations and the partnerships you have.
Yes, that's exactly right. That's our secret weapon that we basically keep it close to our hearts. Nevertheless, as I mentioned, we do collaborate with other companies and institutions, and there is more and more interest. And unfortunately, I cannot talk about everything that is happening, but we will announce in due time developments related to our mice. But I think that everyone should be assured that this is a very valuable and very useful tool for us.
Can you say whether you have an IP on it, or is it something that you have on that process, or the what you do to the mice?
So we decided not to file an IP on these mice simply because this IP would be a process IP or method IP. And it's extremely difficult to enforce a method IP, especially for a company of our size. So it's almost impossible to figure out who is using it.
Right, so that's why you've gone for the secret weapon approach,
Exactly.
and that's why it's like your secret sauce. That if you told people what was in the sauce, it'd be easy to work out.
We filed an IP, a provisional patent application covering the first generation of our mice. But then we realized that it's just not a good idea because it's impossible to enforce.
Right, and so you in a way, you capitalize on the humanized mice through other methods rather than directly with any IP that you might have in it. So it's actually, as I said, the secret weapon. It's a catalyst for your research. Rather than anything else.
Right, exactly. Yeah, the idea behind all this is that to humanize these mice, we need to take human blood cells and process them in a certain way. So what we are doing with all our partners, we are saying we can let you make our mice, or we can make these mice for you. But the most important step, which is a processing of human cells that will be put into these mice to humanize them, is our secret, and we are doing it for something else.
It's like a per mouse type deal, maybe in terms of that. Hemogenyx, it's we've just got through the first part of 2021. What are just the basic milestones, the basic things you're looking at for the rest of the year, just to give people an idea? You've got the blood cancer, you've got the humanized mice. What are the other sort of the highlights?
So, obviously we are negotiating with our partner for the further development of our CDX antibodies, and this will come relatively, hopefully the conclusion of these negotiations will come relatively soon. The next milestone is we will most likely file an IND, open an IND and move into clinical trials with our CAR-T before the end of this year. So that's how it's designed. And we hope to give a significant update on our new CBR platform and what we can do with this platform as a tool to combat viral infections, including COVID-19, SARS-CoV-2, and possibly other infections. And also how we can use this platform to attack malignancies, cancers. So these are the most important things that are probably going to happen this year. Yeah, there are certain other things that are being developed, but it's very difficult to predict when might have results, but we might have some unexpected announcements. Let's put it this way.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to that. Vladislav Sandler, CEO at Hemogenyx. Great to catch up, and hopefully we'll speak soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. Remember to visit our website for more news and other podcasts at www.share-talk.com.